this is getting to me having to wash my hands all the time. Uh,
Well,
I've been all my life. I've been doing all the things you're not supposed to do. You know, I've been picking my nose, putting Q-tips in my ear, not washing my face for 3 or 4 days. You know, all the bad things that you do, slobber, and then later on lick it just to make sure that the flavor from 3 days ago is still there. And now I'm having to change all that and be actually respectable. But what I tell you, what I'm not doing, I'm not shaving.
you're not shaving?
No, because I'm having to wash my hands, having to get the drool off my face. I'm having to get the crust out of my eyes. I'm having to wash my hands 15 times a day. I'm having to, every time I touch a surface, wipe that down. I mean, I'm having to do all this stuff that I never had to do before.
Are you wiping your groceries down?
I'm not only wiping my groceries down, but I'm wiping the person that delivers the grocery down.
Yeah, right.
You do just spraying with Lysol?
What I do is every time they touch a surface, I go behind them and touch and with a wipe and wipe that surface. And I do it while they're standing there. So finally, I get to make them look inferior.
Our live feed ended, so we're just gonna keep recording.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no problem.
So weird. I don't understand the problem.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
it's like a Facebook, whatever,
Yeah. Just
internet.
problem.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah. So all of those things. So how are you? How are you? You said that you're not adjusting to it well, but you're having to, right?
I'm having to adjust to it well. And but back on your end, you were talking about your kids. How is it adjusting? You know, being there 24/7 with Mason. I know that that's a drag on her.
It might be. I
Oh
mean,
no, it is. I can tell.
wonderful person to live with. What are you talking about? I am the most beautiful person to live with.
Oh yeah.
Probably, the best person to live with ever that's ever been.
Now, Brian, I'll tell you this. You're probably right when you say you're the most creative, but you didn't say that.
Yeah.
You're probably right when you say you have good management when it comes to business. You didn't say that.
Nope.
You're probably right when you say, I'm going to come up with something that no one else has come up with. And Mason, I need you to take information on that and dealing with my client. But when it comes to you saying that you're a beautiful person, you're easy to live with, that's a bone-faced, flat-out lie.
I'm trying this growth mindset stuff,
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, Mason and I both know that that's a gross-faced lie.
I'm trying
You're difficult.
We see each other a lot anyways, and definitely since I can't drive, like I feel like I've been in quarantine since December.
Correct, yeah.
So it's not a huge difference, but yeah, there are, I have to kind of like last night I was just like, I'm just gonna go lay down. Like I just don't want to be physically around you. Like you're watching things I don't want to watch, and I'm just gonna go in the other room.
And I'm like,
yeah,
cool.
And that's
later, Tater.
And now on the other hand, now Mason, you don't get a pass either.
No, I know.
Yeah, you can be snarky at times.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
This is her equivalent of 6 feet of distance right here. This is her equivalent of staying 6 feet away. It's like 4 inches.
Yeah, no, I'm
not. No, I get it. But here's what I want to know to tell you guys, both of you. Neither of you can compare to me. I am the worst person to be around whenever I'm locked up.
Why is that though? Because
my girls, I got all 3 ladies here now. I got Kim and Solana and Lumiere, and all 3 of them are here. And while all 3 of them are here, they have to listen to me whine.
What are you whining about though? What's there to whine?
Is whining about not being able to go out and make images. However, I did, as I pointed out the other day, I did go out and make an image, and I can bring that image up and then we can walk through it and talk through it as to why and how it all came about.
Say that last part again. Mason
I,
was.
I said we can. The other day I went out. I did go out and make an image, and I can pull that image up, and then we can walk through and talk through it about why it came about. But I was saying about the girls, they were finally happy that I did go out.
Right.
And so by seeing that stress off of me, pull stress off them. And now they get to whine and moan about what they're not doing.
Right.
And so then now we have to make provisions for them as well.
But then to just leave the house.
Yeah, to some sort of way.
I was hearing earlier. I listened to a lot of things about psychology or philosophy, and I was listening to this concept about the brain's number one function is to move our bodies.
Yeah.
Right. So, but then it becomes less of a question of, is the brain's functions to move the body, or is the body's function to give the brain something to respond to, right? So we're supposed to move so the brain actually learns from that process, right?
Uh-huh.
So the brain is capable of moving our body, but the body is going to do its thing in general because of the brain to give the brain information as to how to grow from that point.
Yeah, there's some automated functions
Yeah.
that we do, like our heartbeat, our respiratory system,
Yeah.
our bowel movements, and our digestive system. All those things are like automations that the brain is regulating in the background, regardless.
Right.
But on the side that you're talking about is that when we get out and learn, go to school, drive, be around people, then the brain has new activities which is stimulated, and and it helps it to grow and form new syntaxes, which neurons connecting, which causes us to have a better feeling about ourselves.
Yeah, and it really just comes down and it just solidifies that statement of you learn by doing. You have to do something. So like after you absorb something through reading or seeing or listening, you have to then actually go and do something about it to actually physically or literally learn that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put it into action.
Not only just learn it, but to stimulate it. And the brain is stimulated not always by something being easy. Something that we learn and it's easy. Sometimes the brain, in fact, oftentimes the brain can be stimulated by the fact that things are hard.
Yeah. And that was part of what I was listening to today. There's like you grow through two different moments or two different types of learning, where it is a painful a learning situation where there's death or divorce or breakups or whatever that case may be. Someone's money for you, you lose your business, whatever that thing is, and then you learn. Then the other side of that is you learn from intuition, right? You learn from just being and experiencing, and you grow through those things as well. So there's a point where you grow from pain, and then you grow from just experiences as a whole.
Mm-hmm. So where did you hear this? Where did this come from?
This morning I was listening to this YouTube talk by a guy named, I'm gonna mess his last name up, but his name is Vishen. Like Heine or whatever. I'm just gonna fuck up his last name. He was referencing Michael Beckwith. You know Michael Beckwith?
No.
Have you ever seen the movie The Secret?
No.
Okay, so he was in there. He explains himself as a visionary, and he's more like a spiritual guide as well. And he started this kind of church called Agape Center, and everything's kind of not really just based in religion, but more spirituality and more about your mindset as you walk through life and how to identify yourself with the things that you are and the things that you're actually in, moving yourself from what you are now to where you're trying to go and where you're wanting to be, the person you want to be.
I've come to some sort of conclusion that where we want to be is not always where we need to be.
Right. So, and then there's that thing as well. So, dang, you're saying all the stuff I was just listening to today. So I'm glad this topic is coming up. And where we sometimes want to be is controlling all the other actions, which means you're kind of running at something that may not be for us.
That's correct.
But if we're standing in these things that who we truly are, and if we're standing in ourselves and in the person that we want to actually grow to be from this holistic standpoint, then all the other things, the direction that we'll be going in will be pulling us in that direction versus us running in this direction of things that we think we want for ourselves. But once we pay attention to ourselves and sit in our thoughts about who we're becoming, then it reveals itself over time.
You got to be open to some sort of thing like that. And what you're saying, I believe, actually wholeheartedly, surprisingly, surprise, is that when I mentioned something about we're running after things that may not be for us, is because when it looks good on someone else.
Right.
And when it looks good on someone else, we think it'll look good on us.
Right.
And one of the things that we don't particularly like to do is reflect on who we are.
Right.
As an individual.
Right.
And we know who we are as far as what our parents expect of us. Mm-hmm. We know who we are as far as our friends have that expectation of us, but we know very little about who we are because we choose to push away all the signs and symbols and directions that identify who we are. And the thing about it is that we tend to look at ourselves in a negative view, more so than a positive view, because we're taught that we're not supposed to be all, brag on ourselves and so forth. Well, apparently we got a president that has disproven that, but we're not going down the politics road. I'm not doing that. But what my point is that the things that we show some interest in may not be what others might find to be that they have defined as that as having interest in. So one of the things that I've been very conscious of telling my children is that I brought you into this world. I get you to a point of understanding of survival in this world. Now it's up to you to thrive. And how you do that, that's on you. That's not on me. Right. You only carry my name. Right. Everything else is your identity.
Well, let's stay on that for a second. So again, I heard the same concept this morning about parenting, right? And that our children are put here not only solely that we put our stamp on them, but they're here to teach us how to grow as people as well, right? So they're here for us to, obviously we have to raise them and show them how to operate in the world, right?
Yeah,
but
sure.
Everything that goes on, if you're paying attention as a parent, where your kids are actually growing you up and they're actually raising you. And it's less almost of the other way around, because all you're really doing is feeding them and making sure they do their homework, and getting them from different places. But a lot of the growth that's happening in that process is you are having to make adjustments to be a better person, and in that process. What do you?
My thoughts about that? Let me run down that road for just a second. You're right. When we're children, we don't have a say-so in anything. Mm-hmm. We're told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and it is for our better good. It's for our safety. Oftentimes, if you are a loving parent,
right?
If you're not a loving parent, then then it becomes selfish. But either case, whether selfish or loving, one of the things as a parent is we get to relive our childhood through our children. We get to right the wrongs. We get to direct them in a manner that won't hurt them like it hurt us, mm-hmm. Or we do it in a manner that will hurt them more than it hurt us. So we can be crappy parents as well. But the point is that you're right. We get to relive it. But But after that, after we relive it, then it's up to them to then live. Let them go and let them live. So yes, we can stifle our children by becoming children all over again, and not um, allowing our children to teach us where where we were wrong, where we
Right.
made the mistakes.
Right.
Because as human beings, as much as we might think we're unique, if I can quote unquote that word, we're not. You get a Labrador retriever, he's going to retrieve no matter what. You get a bulldog, he's going to slobber no matter what.
Right.
You get a human being, we're going to be deceptive, we're going to be creative, we're going to be innovative, we're going to be doubtful, we're going to be all the things that humans are. It's just that some of us are going to be a little bit more at it, better at it than others. But we all possess the same exact DNA that makes us a human.
Right.
So those are my thoughts about it, even though they were rambling.
No, I enjoy that. It's I like having these conversations because we, especially in these times where last week being a parent, this last couple months really has been eye-opening experience because I've always known that I wanted to be I didn't want to be a tyrant of a parent, though sometimes you just get so upset that you end up looking that way sometimes. But I always knew that I didn't want to be completely soft on every issue to where there was no boundary set as well to where my children are running over me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having to learn how to have a balance and sit in the middle of being strong and then being gentle at the same time has been a work in progress. And I think I saw a lot of that work with my oldest, especially over this last few months, being able to actually sit down. I didn't know this whole time, like for instance, quick story. I didn't know this whole time that, well, we live in this little tiny apartment. So I was like, there's not a lot of room for my kids to be in here. It's like an overnight basis. I was like, obviously they don't want to be here. I assume that. I never asked them, right? And then it come to my surprise having a blowout with my kid. She's like, you never invite us over. And I'm like, I just thought y'all didn't want to be over here because it was so small. And it's like, where are you going to sit? There's like 2 chairs, a couple little chairs, and then the floor, right? So like, where are you going to sit when you come over here? Where are you going to be comfortable at? That was my assumption. And to my surprise, that assumption was horribly wrong. And I could have been spending that time, even in this small space, making that the bond and that relationship work in a different way. Once that became something I was aware of, then I quickly changed it. And I was like, you can come over every day if you want to. I don't care. However long you want to come over. What do you want to do when you're over here? I don't care what, you know what I mean? Like, then that opened my eyes up to how I can parent in a different way, especially with them with my 2 daughters on individual levels and then together as a family. Right. So that changed my mind. That changed my mind and it changed my outlook like very quickly.
Well, my grandmother had 13 kids, and each one of the 13, actually she had 13 and one died, 12. Each one of the 12 had 6 to 7 kids.
Yeah.
And every summer, 2 families at a time for a week to 2 weeks would be at my grandmother's house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
All right. Now, that's about 12 to 14 kids.
Right.
All right. At a time, with my grandmother being the only adult in the house. However, what she would do, and by the way, this house was a little less than 1,000 square feet.
Mm.
I mean, if that. Now, the land around it, we had plenty of land, which we had to work with the gardens and the chickens and whatever having to deal with. But each family, when we got there, we all had a role. We all had a role to play. Who would cook, when they would cook, who would clean, who would get the vegetables, who would do whatever. And each day, that role would slightly switch,
Mm.
meaning the Rostics girls in the morning would do the breakfast. The Rostic boys in the evening would do the dinner. The um, um, Max in the afternoon would do the lunch and then do the cleanup. So, but we all had something to do and we all had a playtime. But the biggest part about it was that my grandmother would allow us all in the kitchen at the same time to make dessert.
Right.
We had to make our own ice cream, apple pies, the whole nine. And that's not the story here. The story is, where did we all sleep? I'm
Right.
going to tell you this.
Everywhere.
I don't remember.
Right. You just slept everywhere.
And there was no air conditioner.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I do remember is, I remember doing the what do you call those, snap peas?
Yeah.
The collard greens, get them together, learning how to make breakfast, learning what the right temperature was to cook meat, making dessert. I remember all of those great things. And I remember being with my cousins.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter the size of the house.
Yeah. And that was certainly it wasn't a grave mistake because no one died from it and no one got hurt, but it definitely felt like there was time lost.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And for 2 years of time.
And I will tell you this, if you are any sort of parent at all, if you listen to this, and this includes people who have no children but have companies that they run, employees, or have projects that they are in charge of. These people are act as you're the head, and they are the people that are listening to you. Parent is nothing more than the leader of the domain. That's all a parent is. Who guides the people that are beneath him or her. But no matter what you have to realize that if you don't talk to your subordinates or your children and get their input, you're losing growth experience.
I always say, if you think you are a really good parent, you're probably fucking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think you're doing a good job as a parent,
yeah,
you're probably destroying your child's life.
Yeah, that's correct.
Period. Because I just feel like there's always these moments of feeling on edge all the time, like, because you're thinking about, is this the right decision? Is this, should I restrict them for this or give them the freedom here? Like, you're always making a decision that could go wrong half of the time with your children. So if you think you're doing a good job at it, you're probably doing
it's the same with your employees or your support people. It's the same exact thing. Especially when you don't take time to listen to what they're saying.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to.
You draw that correlation of...
Or not even asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, not even asking. That's a big thing.
You know what's best for everybody. And you haven't asked them what's best for them.
Right.
And I think, like being a parent and being a leader at the same time, the quicker you realize that you're actually working for the people that you
right.
the better off everybody is.
Right.
The more growth you see in your life as an individual. I've had to learn that being a dad, and then learn that just leading projects. When you tell someone, when people look to you, and we had this discussion, the three of us have, but someone looks to you as you're the leader of this project, it's not your job to come up with all the ideas. It's your job to listen to the people involved, take into consideration their ideas, and then just go to work making sure that they have what they need to
support you.
Right. So it's the same thing with being a parent. It's like, you are working for your children in a lot of ways, right? They can't do a lot of shit for themselves, so you got to end up driving them to baseball practice or ballet practice or whatever, right? So you're doing everything in your power to make sure that they have the things that they need to be a good representative of your family, right? That's what you're raising your kids.
So okay, so you get this artist in there to help you out with this particular project,
Right.
okay? And you bring him in, you're the head, and they say, look, what I need is I need a little extra space over here so that I can add another monitor because to be working on this particular part. You go in there like, no, you just do it with one monitor. I've done it with one monitor all along.
Right.
Then you come in there and wonder why your project is running slow.
Right.
And you know that you hired this person because of their ability to do whatever it is to support you.
Right.
The same way you have nurtured your children to do what's right when it comes to doing their part. You train them to do their chores so they can then become better at it. But then when they start doing it, then you go behind them and say, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong. So what you're doing in both instances is not allowing growth.
Right.
And the whole point about being a leader parent is about allowing growth and allowing mistakes to happen, and not so much in the sense of like your children is to come down on them, but to teach them where they made the mistake so that they don't do it again.
Right. And then know that the mistake is how you're going to grow through it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And even if they do it again, they won't do it the same way. And if they do it the same way next time, you put them on a different project. I'll continue to tell my one daughter, hey, you need to wash dishes when the dishes keep coming out crappy.
Right.
So I put her on broom duty.
Right. You suck at washing dishes every time. I'm not going to fire you. I'm just going to give you something else to do.
I'm going to give you something else to do.
Right.
I'll tell you a little story, quick story. My growing up as a kid, I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. And my mother said, just like she would say, okay, and my grandmother was, you guys are going to do this particular project, and you're going to do that. And as a male, I got the traditional cut the grass, do the toilets, that sort of thing. And what my sisters got was wash the clothes, do the dishes, and do the cooking.
Okay.
Well, I hated cutting the grass. So when I found out that all my mother wanted was it done, I negotiated with my sisters. I'll wash the dishes because I like doing that. Like keeping my hands warm, like in the warm water. I like that. I didn't mind sweeping the kitchen, and I didn't want to take out the trash. But both my sisters, love being outdoors, love putting their hands in the dirt. They love that stuff. So what it came down to it at the end is that it all got done and Mama was happy.
Yeah, and that's important to realize. Yeah, that it's just a job that needs to be done, and then being able to make an assessment that allows you to get that job done and have fun doing something that you want to do, or do something that you prefer doing, right? So you just delegated it somewhere else. You didn't even delegate; you just switched.
The thing about it, the great thing about it is that I'm giving my mom credit for, is that she didn't argue to say, Robert, you have to do the yard.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't come back at me and say to my sister Gwen, you didn't wash the clothes. No, it became, hey, the clothes are done. Right. The grass is cut. The toilets are clean.
Right.
I don't care how it got there. Make it happen.
That's right.
And so that's the creative part on the underlings, me being a child and mom being the leader. The underling is that we work things out to best fit what it is that we were really good at doing.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, so here's what I want to do. I want to have a conversation now with that statement in mind, doing what you're best good at doing. I want to have some messaging in here where those people who are finding themselves with more time on their hands now because of this isolation period of COVID-19, and those people who who have used their previous situations as excuses to not get anything done are
Mm-hmm.
now sitting at home with nothing but time on their hands to actually do things, and they still can't find. They're still waiting on what is that thing they're supposed to be doing, getting unstuck and moving forward towards something that they might like to be doing. What are some things that they can actually, that you've done before or might be currently doing to get unstuck?
Well, I don't think that people are stuck or unstuck.
Yeah.
I think people are just not facing their own reality. We started this thing off by saying that people sometimes chase a rabbit that's not theirs.
Yeah.
They need to be chasing a squirrel when they're chasing a rabbit, because the squirrel best identifies the tools that they have in order to hunt. Um, and I know that's a way out analogy, but my point is that you're better equipped to do a certain thing than others, and that self-analysis is the most important thing that they can be doing right now. Becoming honest with themselves, and
Right.
to say things that may hurt not only themselves but the people around them. But they don't have to do anything as far as hurting people, but coming to the assessment. Hey, you know what? What I really do like music. I don't like being in a silent room. I like music, and I even though I'm black, this is not me talking, by the way. Even though I'm black, I really like heavy metal. I really do.
You know
And
what?
so,
Some of the world's best heavy metal bass guitarists are black men.
well, but that goes to my point, which means that as a creative, instead of running down producing ads for people who smoke cigarettes or jewel based inhalant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get in the music scene.
Right.
I'm going to start studying that sort of thing.
So what are the questions that you have to ask yourself to get to that, to start that process of what is it that you really should be doing?
The number one question is, what am I hiding?
You know, and I like that because I what am I hiding? I think a little bit it was about that identity too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hiding identity, you could be hiding things about yourself. And we talked about this before, have struggled a lot with disengaging from just being a graphic designer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that was the thing that was paying me money. So I would imagine there's a lot of people that are still assigning identities to themselves that aren't any longer serving them. Right. So what are you hiding, or what are you hiding from, really? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you stepping on the thing that you really want to be because the thing that you are now got you to this point?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So elaborate on that. What are you hiding things some more?
Well, let's just take before I get to the hiding part. Let's just take a skill set, graphic design. You spend many years learning all about design. You learn a lot about yourself while learning about design. You learn all the aspects about what it takes to make a good design and what it takes to make a bad design. The bad design is to think that you're great at everything and good at nothing. And a good design is to continue to churn away at something that you think is not really good, but continuing to perfect it and never really being satisfied with it. But the point is that you like heavy metal, and all this time, again, back to the I'm not going to slam cigarettes, or let's say you've been doing baby diapers because it's been helping you to get where you are. But you really like heavy metal and music, and no one knows this about you. But if you come out now and say that, oh, what is the world going to think? But the point is that you are going to now pursue an area where you can use your skill set. You don't lose them. You don't throw them away. You take that skill set and put it into heavy metal.
Right.
What can you do around that? Can you run a soundboard? Can you design some posters for them? Can you do anything that involves the skills you already have to get into the environment that you want?
So it's making an assessment of the skills that it's going to take to do the thing you want to do.
Yeah. And not just make an assessment of it, but don't deny it. And what I mean by that is to say that, well, I'm not good enough to do. Maybe they might not want this. Maybe I'm crazy for even thinking this thought.
Yes. No, you're.
Hold on. So yeah, you were getting ready to say something. You had a thought.
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking of it in a more positive way of like, what are things that you really, really love, but you don't know how to make money at it, or you don't know that there's a job for it, or but you like sit and daydream about, or you are totally involved in heavy metal culture and all of that stuff, and you invest all this time that you call a hobby because you really just don't know how to make a living at it. Then turning and going, how can I use the skills that I have, because I've been doing this dumb job that I don't like, and at least working in a field or subject matter or whatever that you really love. Like when I moved back here, I really thought I was gonna go back to school to be a marine biologist.
Uh-huh.
And so I tried to get a job at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium,
Uh-huh.
and like doing graphic design or marketing or whatever. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And they didn't hire me. And so I ended up just volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for like a year, and it was great. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff. And I learned a whole bunch of stuff about marine biologists in the field and nonprofit, animal rescue, blah, 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 and just how difficult it is to, and if I was going to go back to school, it was like, I had to go get my bachelor's of science in marine biology, then go get a master's in science. And I was like, that's 8 more years and so I'm super glad I did that and I learned a lot, but it was like, this isn't my path. This isn't what I'm supposed to do. And so then I did just keep going with dumb jobs I didn't like, but I'm glad I at least tried. I tried an avenue and then was like, oh, that's not right for me. That's not my calling. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I do as a hobby, like, try to be an advocate for our ecosystem here. But so at least like going and volunteering at a heavy metal, whatever, like try to jump into and be part of the scene that you always have wanted to be part of.
Right.
Well, having said that, that is how you get involved. If you really, and I'm using this term really, if you really, really want to do something and you really are not hiding, there will be a culture and a community for you.
Yeah.
It always is.
There's already a culture waiting for you.
Yeah, it's waiting for you.
That's what you want to do.
Right.
The beauty that she had when she was younger was that she was young and she can try all these things. Some of these people are our age, older. I'm 40, you're older than me. And we're at these points in our lives where we're like, shit, man, I should have did all that when I was younger, but I didn't. I don't have the time to do 100 different things. So I really need to focus on, there's this one thing I do like to do, but it's not going to pay me right away because I need to learn I need to learn the skills that is going to take to actually do that thing. That's going to take me some time. So while I'm working this BS job, I still need to carve out some time. How do I find time in my day when I got kids, husband, wife, whatever the case may be? How do I find time in this day to carve out and to start learning for the thing that I want to do a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? While I'm
I tell this story quite a lot to people. I'm sitting at the very table where I sat with my children a number of years ago. And at this table, I sat around and said, I want to do this. This is what I feel. This is in me. I want to do it. I really believe that I can make this work for me. It wasn't for them, for me.
Right.
But here's the buy-in, folk. Everybody around this table, all three ladies, you need to know that it's going to require me to be gone. It's going to require me to be in time where I can't be at a place A, place B. But every time that I can't be at place A, place B, I will be there. The thing that I need is a commitment from you all that it's okay for me to move forward. Right. And I gave each one of them a chance to talk about why when they said, yeah, Dad, I said, what does that mean? Let's understand what that really, really means. When I say that I won't be at your game or I won't be at your swim meet.
Right.
And they all agreed. All three of them unanimously agreed. Unanimously agreed. I didn't mean to bore you, Mason. But when they agreed, and the first week, 2 weeks that it happened, Dad, and I go, remember when you said, and they immediately said, oh, yeah, okay, I understand.
Right.
And from that point forward, when they were on board, they made time for me. And guess what? And I am not making this up, this is reality. Whenever I found a moment to break away from what I needed to do, I would show up at their game unexpectedly. I would show up at this function. They weren't expecting me there, but I was there. And the look on their faces when I showed up showed me everything, that they can depend on me. So it's not totally selfish. It is a case where you have to put in the time for yourself, have everyone on board with what you're doing. And then those times when you have a moment, you don't be selfish about it. You give it back. Mm-hmm. And that's how you do it.
So get others involved with your goals that you want to, and just outline everything in that process, how it's actually how you see it working.
At that time, it's gonna take twists and turns. But the more people are on board with it, the more they look out for you. I have so much equipment in the studio, not because I purchased it, but because people believed in me.
Yeah.
I have opportunities that have come my way, not because I've gone out and solicited it, but because people have believed in me, and they believe in the fact that I bring them on board in the process. And not only, when I say I bring them on board, not only do I give people classes and teach them about photography, but I tell them, even when we're having a class, I said, bring your friends. I don't care. Bring your friends. Next thing you know, what happens? The friend starts taking classes. Right. Because they see the process. And then they tell other people and they vouch. And I will tell you this, Brian, as well as you, Mason, how you treat your people, I don't care what the product is, but how you treat your people is going to grow your business and grow your leadership and grow your group quicker than anything. Or it's gonna make it fail quicker than anything. So get people on board with your goals. Tell people I'm really interested in heavy metal. That's the part I said about hiding.
Right.
That's the big thing about hiding. No, don't hide anymore. Hey, you know what? I really like peanut butter, but I don't like jelly.
And I think there's a thing behind saying it out loud too. I think a lot of people haven't really spoken their goals or their dreams out loud, so they haven't really heard it in context outside of their body, outside of their thoughts, right? They haven't heard it vibrate and see what that actually sounds like. Therefore, nobody else has actually heard it anyway.
Sure.
Dying on the inside, or just not even dying, not even be that doom and gloom. They're just hiding, like you say, from whatever thought process or rejection or
Sure.
rejection. It may be someone might actually challenge them on it and say, here you go, here's an opportunity, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
And they may not be prepared to do anything with it as well. So they don't voice those things. They don't say, I like heavy metal music and I want the bass guitar, or I just want to build a fan base around heavy metal music because I love it so much, and I want other people to who do love it to have a place to come and talk about heavy metal music. So,
and you're going to design the posters,
right. And then you find what you like to do in there, right? I when I walked away, not walked away, but when I had to disassociate myself from being a designer, I still design stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
I didn't say I'm not going to ever not design anything ever again. I just don't want to do it at the capacity that I was doing it before.
Correct.
That capacity wasn't serving me because it was do a job for a client or a company I don't really care about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I give them that job, and then I walk away and I look for the next job. It wasn't serving me that way.
Sure.
But I have to do some things for clients that I have now. Every now and again, I have to put something together for them or design something for them. I enjoy it more now, even in this, like the simplest things. It's not high top tier design work, but I'm working with my clients the way that I want to work with them. So the work that I do for them is enjoyable for me because I know that it's me contributing to their success on their end.
I will challenge you on one thing. Coming from you, Brian, I know it's top tier design work. It's just not out in the market top tier, but the design work itself is top tier. And back at you, Mason, by going to the Clearwater and volunteering, gave you a better understanding of why that job wasn't your final fit.
Oh yeah.
Rather than being high and mighty, saying those people don't know what they're losing by not hiring me. You really wanted to do something, and that's the big thing. You really wanted to do it, and you stuck with it, and you did it. You did it regardless. And once you found out the ins and outs of what your life was going to be, you somewhat realized. But I swear to you, and as I have a heart and a soul, I know that the workings at the Clearwater Marina have some skill sets that you're using today.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Managing people and wild animals at the same time.
Yes.
I definitely gained that skill set.
I'm sorry, you just said one and the same, by the way.
Another job that I was basically like what were those? I don't remember my technical term, but I was like an account coordinator or something at this advertising agency in Tampa. And super boring, super me not using any of my skills. And my friend Natasha had a fundraiser, and it was at this paint and drink place in Oldsmar, and she like throws lots of fundraisers. She's like fundraising runs and things all the time, and I was always like, no, can't, sorry, no. And then I was like, oh, I've always wanted to go try out one of these paint places. And so I was like, all right, fine. And I had a great time. And for whatever crazy reason, that night I walked up and was like, are you hiring? Like, I had a full-time job. Why I wanted to get a part-time, and it was an out-of-body experience. I don't know why I did that. And they were like, oh my God, blah, 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 just left. Yes, we're looking for an art. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, something made me like, you gotta go do this. And the environment, the space, the people who taught me that night, they were so nice. And I was like, I like these people. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. And I just decided, which is also not like me. I'm very like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna go think about it for a month and then maybe do something. And so that effortless, this was fun, and I had and it wasn't a struggle. I was like, those are the places that I need to go investigate and find out about. And that's my path. When it's just like, oh, I'm just being me. Oh, okay, cool. Like, all of these other things that I've had to do to make money and keep myself sustaining were always like, like, hey, me kind of being myself.
Yeah.
And so that's been since then, just keep following where, even if I have no idea what I'm going to do, like not prepared, but I feel good. It's going to be effortless. And if I can just be myself, like, that's where I'm going to succeed. And so hold on to that.
And you get,
I'll tell you this, Brian mentioned that very thing early on in this conversation about taking the path that is more you, not resisting that path, and then going down another path that isn't you, that's not going to give you the fulfillment.
right.
But opening yourself up to that path. We started this whole thing by him saying that.
And you know, I think too, it's important to remember that you get to make up the rules. You get to make up the playbook, right? Mm-hmm. There may be some rules already kind of set in place in your industry, or some people have already established best practices or how things can be done, but those things may just not apply to you. And I think it's important to remember that you get to decide how long it's going to take, right, for you to do the action. You don't get to decide how long it's going to take before your business blows up. Or
right. You don't. No, that's not.
What I like to do is I like to give myself a time limit of or a deadline to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
I mean, so what that means for me is, if something is troubling me, I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna allow myself a week, 2 weeks to go and be in this hole and think about this and learn from this experience. Mm-hmm. But in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to do something about it. It may not be the right thing, but I'm going to make some kind of decision to pivot away from where I am now. So, and I do the same thing when it comes to my mental health, my depression. In the times where I am depressed, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fall in this hole, and I'm gonna allow myself to go in this hole. But I'm gonna do this for a month, right? And then at the end of that month, I'm gonna make another decision, and I'm gonna do something about it, which is gonna hopefully change my habit in that space as well. So making up your own rules and setting some deadlines for when you're going to take action. So not really a deadline on having something achieved, but a deadline on when I'm actually going to start taking action towards that thing, or just not do it at all.
Let it go.
And I will tell you about the deadlines. The deadlines are flexible. Let me explain what I mean. Meaning that if I say I'm going to take 10 days to do this, and it turns around in 8. Well, the next time I'm going to take 8 days instead of the 10.
Right.
But let's say I take 10 days and it doesn't turn around, but day 12, wow, if I just 2 more seconds, now I'm going to make my adjustment now to 12.
Right.
But if at 12 nothing happens, then I know.
Right.
So that's what I mean by adjustment. When you make these deadlines, because I will approach a photograph. I'll go, okay, I'm giving myself 40 minutes. 40 minutes to get excited about this photograph, what I'm doing. And in 40 minutes, I am not excited about it. I'm doing something else. It's just that. And I will do something else. I'll turn and do something else. I'm going to share the screen with you for just a second, okay?
Yeah, but I definitely want to get into what you want to show.
And this, let me share the screen here and.
Get off me. I'm working.
Okay, I'm assuming you can see my screen here, and I want to go through this particular photograph, and I think this is the one we talked about, and what it is in this particular photograph is, let me pull it up. I wanted to go out and photograph night trees, and what I did was I started photographing night trees, just that. And because I had this idea about trees being artificially lit. So I did a couple of, these are HDR, high dynamic range, 3-frame brackets. And once I did them, once I started to do them, I realized that this is not something I do quite often, so I messed up in the focus of the image because I wasn't prepared to do what it was that I said I wanted to do. And I knew I was going to take the car out and I'll do all these particular things. But the fact that I didn't get a focus on something that already taken me 20 minutes to set up was really bad to me. And by the way, what you see here is now is a vertorama, 3 frames, and then I tilt upward. Uh, and as I tilt upward, I put the frames together at the end. So I was doing this, and I was not. What happened to my Lightroom? Okay, my Lightroom did my Lightroom go away?
It went away.
Okay, let me bring it back.
It's coming back.
Yeah, okay, bring it back. When I did this, I realized this it just wasn't happening for me. So I turned to a different, about 40 minutes into it, I turned to a different set of trees and said, I'm going to do that. And it didn't work. And I said, wait a minute. All right, let's do something that I know will work. And I shot this place. I turned around. I'm literally in the same spot, but I turned around and photographed this. And when I photographed it, I realized, wait a minute. Okay, Robert, the most important part about this photograph is this sign.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I did, several frames in order to get this shot. And let me pull back up the first part of it. This one right here.
Right.
That's the essence of the shot. But it wasn't quite right in that. And what I wanted to do, I said, okay, that's kind of boring. What if I make this a training, teachable moment? Well, the moment I said this, the moment that thought went through my brain, I said, widen the shot. And by widening the shot, what I ended up doing was saying, okay, I'm going to go to the right and photograph a composition to the right. I'm going to photograph a composition to the center, back to the middle, and I'm going to photograph a composition on the opposite side. All 3 of those. And then I'm going to take that composition and put it together to show the entire expanse of this, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, I realized I had photographed from this spot before on a dark moon, slightly, and when I say this spot, not this exact spot, actually about a mile further west, just the sky. And in doing so, I also photographed the moon. And when I photographed the moon, this was that same night, by the way, I photographed the moon. When I did that, photographed this particular moon, I think I have a good shot in here of the moon, somewhere in there. I have a shot of the moon, but I photographed the moon in, yeah, there it is. There's the moon. I photographed that and I said, okay, I think I can put this moon in its composition.
Right.
And I was thinking about the tree composition, but at the end, let me scroll down. I don't know if you can see this, but in this composition here with the pieces, I can, if you can see my cursor, yes.
Yep.
I could put the moon here, and then I can fill back in the stars that I shot like a little time, a while before. And in doing so, let me tap the letter in there, and that's what we get. Open up these values, and I said, oh, this looks like a place I would want to kind of visit at night.
Yeah.
And that excited me because of one thing, Brian.
What's that?
Mason needs to hear this.
She's sitting right here.
Yeah.
It's because when I made it a teachable moment that put me in the element that I am not only most comfortable in, but have the greatest fire under my butt on. So I got super, super excited about this photograph. And then I even posted it on Facebook talking about an empty night.
Cool.
So that's what this was. So I wanted to put that thought process in the works. and that thought process is this. Yes, I can photograph a bunch of things, but what gets me really, really excited? And the excitement part is training, teaching others, not just teaching others, but I like the creative circus concept. Creative circus in the school we went to, taught at and went to back in Atlanta. The creative concept is I am going to hire professionals who work in the field in order to teach. And in order for me to teach, I have to be able to work in the field.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to share.
So, and what I'm hearing is, in order for you to be able to service or provide a service for someone else, you still need to be able to go out and put those things into practice. You need to be a practitioner of the things that you're teaching.
Absolutely. Have to be.
They're battle tested, they're proven, or at least you know what the pitfalls are. And
that's correct.
Does this even look like in the first place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have to practice what you preach.
And I believe in that 100,000%. Practice what you preach. And then when you preach it to the audience where they get the most out of it.
Right, right. I think that's awesome. I took a bunch of notes. I'm gonna try to turn these into things that we can expound on later at a later date. But I do want to ask you, you got the layout I sent you, right?
Yes.
Did you get the?
Wait a minute. The last time we talked, I have not checked any mail. You sent it to my TRG, right?
Yeah, I sent the TRG, and I sent what I've been doing for other clients, this little social media cheat sheet. Mm-hmm. So if you read it, kind of follow it as far as filling out the content that you're going to put inside of the caption section. Mm-hmm. And then let me know if that works for you, if that was helpful for you.
Okay, I will.
So it's one's for Facebook and the other one's for Instagram.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So just give me some feedback on that. Let me know if that type of thing is helpful, because what I want to do is be able to put a little deck or a package of things like that together for people. Mm-hmm. And I can just put on my site and people can just download.
Okay.
With the exchange of their email address, of course.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so let me know if it works. And I do, I like this walkthrough, this tutorial that you just gave us about your thought process. So we should do more of that too.
Oh, I'm all happy to do it, and I also like to get that done from Mason as well, because I've been watching your Instagram. And Brian, I saw your time lapse of your art piece. Uh-huh. I think that this sort of thing is relevant. Thought process, and then how you come out on the end. Well, and the end is not the important part. I think the thought process is more important.
Yeah. I really do think it's about the process and not the work, not the job done.
I had fun walking people through what I think simple drawings, and at times I'm like, this isn't elaborate enough, this isn't hard enough, this isn't, they're not going to get anything from it. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. And people really like it.
and I'll go back to this saying that what you just said, people are not going to get anything out of it. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Brian said, my kids are not going to want to be here. It's too small. And Brian, I say to you, that's not true.
It's not. It blew my mind. It blew my mind when she said, I want to be there. I was like, and then in the movies when time just rushes by, all the time that wasn't spent for 2 years, it was just I was like, God damn it.
And I go back to Mason, all the time that you spent thinking that people won't get anything out of it. Waste of time.
Yeah. And you know what, though, just before we close on that, is I think the teachable moment from that is if you make that information accessible from my perspective of a parent, from your perspective as an artist, and what you just did now, walking people through your process, it allows people to come in and start where they are. Even if they are more advanced, it allows people to come in and at least tell you, hey, I'm further along in this, but I see where you're going, right?
Mm.
A lot of people aren't artists or don't believe themselves to be artists. And what she's done with the work that she's doing on Instagram and Facebook, the art is super accessible, right?
Mm.
It's more from a doodling perspective than it is, I'm an artist and I'm going to draw a specific thing really detailed in this color with this much intention. But she's focusing the intention on just creating and not
correct.
Right.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So next Tuesday, let's keep doing more of this. And
what do you always say?
What's that? Oh, as I always say, I definitely learned a lot from this. I definitely learned a lot. If you don't believe me, there's proof right there of that purchase. So I learned a lot. I do learn a lot. That's one of my, and I say that because, not because I don't understand or I come into this conversation not knowing these things. It's that I'm coming into it with this mindset of, I want to learn something more than what I think I already know. I want to be dumbfounded by information, or I want to have an aha moment every time I have a conversation with you, Robert, Mason, anybody. I want to be like, holy shit, like that's another avenue to like think about. I want to find the other layer or the other path to like look at normal everyday functions and keep drilling them down into things that are manageable.
You're always in discovery mode.
I'm always in discovery mode.